Exodus 4. Moses answered again, and if, if they do not believe me or pay attention to me, but say, the Lord did not appear to you. The Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? He said, a staff. The Lord said, throw it to the ground. So he threw it to the ground. It became a snake, and Moses ran from it. But the Lord said to Moses, put out your hand and grab it by the tail. So he put out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand, that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to. The Lord also said to him, put your hand in your robe. So he put his hand into his robe, and when he brought it out, there was his hand leprous like snow. He said, put your hand back into your robe. So he put his hand back into his robe, and when he brought it out from the robe, there it was, restored like the rest of his skin. If they do not believe you or pay attention to the former sign, then they may believe the latter sign. And if they do not believe even these two signs or listen to you, then take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the Nile will become blood on the dry ground. Then Moses said to the Lord, oh my Lord, I am not an eloquent man, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. The Lord said to him, who gave you a mouth to man? Who gave a mouth to man? Or who makes a person mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? So now go, and I will be your mouth, and will teach you what you must say. But Moses said, oh, my Lord, please send anyone else whom you wish to send. Then the Lord became angry with Moses and said, what about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know that he can speak very well. Moreover, he is coming to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. So you are to speak to him and to put the words in his mouth. And as for me, I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you both what you must do. He will speak for you to the people, and it will be as if, as if he were your mouth, and as if, as if you were his God. You will also take in your hand the staff with which you will do the signs. So Moses went back to his father-in-law Jethro and said to him, let me go so that I may return to my relatives in Egypt and see if, if they are still alive. Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. The Lord said to Moses in Midian, go back to Egypt, because all the men who were seeking your life are dead. Then Moses took his wife and his sons, put them on a donkey, and headed back to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the staff of God in his hand. The Lord said to Moses, when you go back to Egypt, see that you do before Pharaoh all the wonders I have put under your control. But I will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. You must say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord has said. Israel is my son, my firstborn. And I said to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. But since you have refused to let him go, I will surely kill your son, your firstborn. Now on the way at the place where they stopped for the night, the Lord met Moses and sought to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off the foreskin of her son, and touched it to Moses' feet, and said, surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. So the Lord let him alone. At that time, she said, a bridegroom of blood, referring to the circumcision. The Lord said to Aaron, "Go to the wilderness to meet Moses." So he went and met him at the mountain of God. And greeting him with a kiss, Moses told Aaron all the words of the Lord who had sent him and all the signs that he had commanded him. Then Moses and Aaron went and brought together all the Israelite elders. Aaron spoke all the words that the Lord had spoken to Moses and did the signs in the sight of the people. And the people believed. When they heard that the Lord had attended to the Israelites and that he had seen their affliction, they bowed down close to the ground. So if we back up to chapter 3, God and Moses are in the conversation, and God is calling Moses. So he saw the burning bush. He saw the amazement of something that would not burn up and would not be consumed, but was on fire. And God tells him everything that is going to happen, how that when they leave, that they are going to plunder Egypt. He gives them all of these fantastic details of what's going to happen. And Moses says, "And if they don't believe me or pay attention, but say the Lord did not appear to you." Why is he concerned with this? Because he did not grow up as a Hebrew. He grew up being privileged. He grew up being, in the palace. So, why would they believe him? He doesn't believe they're going to believe him. You don't know our God. So who did you actually talk to? So, in some level, a little bit legitimate here, I would say. If they say the Lord didn't appear to you, why would they believe him? The Lord said, "What is that in your hand?" So he already asked, who do I say sent me? He already got that answer. And then he's like, that's still not enough. How do they, I need proof that what I did was actually encounter God. I think that's somewhat fair, reasonable, legitimate. But aside from that, he keeps going. He keeps going. So God says, "What's that in your hand?" "It's a staff. Throw it to the ground." And it became a snake. And Moses ran from it. That's the part I love. Moses runs from the snake. The details of the verse are designed to show that there was a staff that became a snake. The question is used to affirm that is truly a staff. And then to the report, Moses running from it shows it's a genuine snake. Using the serpent as a sign would have an impact on the religious ideas of Egypt, for the sacred cobra was one of their symbols. Yes, that's why there's the cobra on Pharaoh's hood. That's why there's the wings. Yes, those are wings. The cobra, wings that are on the side there. So Moses runs from it. God says, "Put out your hand and grab it by the tail." I don't think that's a good idea, honestly, but if it's going to turn back into a staff, which it does. So look at the obedience there on Moses' part to grab it and to retrieve it. That they may believe that the Lord, so grab it by the tail with your hand so that they will believe that I am the God who appeared to you, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And then put your hand into your robe and pull it out, and it's going to be leprous like snow. So it is going to turn. The sudden skin disease indicated that God was able to bring such diseases on Egypt in the plagues, and that only he could remove them. The whitening was the first stage of death for the diseased. The Hebrew words traditionally rendered leprous or leprosy, as they are used in Leviticus, encompass a variety of conditions not limited to the disease called leprosy or Hansen's disease in modern times. So I'm going to show you the power of God to do plagues, to hold plagues out before you, and to cure them. God is the only one who can do such things. All right, we got ads coming in. Let's go look at the fish this morning. We haven't looked at them yet. So we have the representation of part of Egypt in the serpent, and then we have power over plagues that is going to be evident. So we have signs that point to what Moses is saying is true. So we have signs that accompany him to be able to say, yes, indeed, he did encounter God. Now, if the former one doesn't convince them, maybe the second one will. And BT dubs, here's a third option. If the two of them don't convince it, take water from the Nile, pour it on the dry ground, and the water you take from the Nile will become blood on the dry ground. This is a powerful sign, for the Nile was always known as a source of life in Egypt, but now it will become the evidence of death. So the three signs were alike, each consisting of life and death. They would clearly anticipate the struggle with Egypt through the plague. The point is clear, that in the face of the possibility that people might not believe, the servant of God must offer clear proof of the power of God as they deliver the message of God. The rest is up to God. Okay, I don't know, I'd go that direction entirely, but definitely proof and evidence of God. So should make an add emote for followers. That way chat can let you know on those times you might miss ads. Just a suggestion. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Then Moses said to the Lord, oh, I don't know why they're doing, oh my Lord. That's kind of weird. I mean, I guess it's the word by is a participle of entreaty. It seeks permission to speak, and is followed by my Lord, please. Yeah, please, my Lord. Yeah. Designation of Moses' address, Adonai, a term of respect, and define Lord, Master, Sir, but pointed as it would be when it's representing the Tetragrammaton. Be Jacob. Since this is the first time Moses spoke directly to Yahweh, he did so hesitatingly. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Yeah. This is Moses' first encounter, it seems. Well, at least first direct. We have no record because he is in the house of Jethro, and Jethro is a Midianite, but he is someone who worships Yahweh. So there would be an assumption that he has prayed, but this would be a direct speaking to. So I get that. The point still could be made, even if they're not making the assumption that Moses already knows or has a relationship towards God in some capacity through his father-in-law Jethro, or that he would have inherited at some point from his mom being around until he's weaned. So there's some possibilities that he does have more knowledge than the text is telling us, or more interactions. Okay, so he is directly addressing God with his name. You have spoken to your servant. What an interesting thing. So we started this conversation. In the past, I've never been eloquent, and up to this point in our conversation, I too have failed to be eloquent. Well, duh. Why would you suddenly start being eloquent in the middle of our conversation unless God did that? So he's kind of going, you didn't free me up either, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. The two expressions, heavy of mouth and heavy of tongue, uses genitives of specification, the mouth and the tongue being what are heavy, slow. Mouth and tongue are metonymies of cause. Moses is saying that he has a problem speaking well. Perhaps he had been too long at the other side of the desert, or perhaps he was being a little dishonest. At any rate, he has still not captured the meaning of God's presence. Oh, yeah. So he has not grasped the power of God with him, even though the power of God is with him. If the power of God has the power to turn a staff into a snake, and your hand to leprous and back again, and to turn water into blood, what would really be the difficulty in doing something to your tongue? So whether legitimate or not does not matter. Could be legit, still not realizing or accepting God's call or his power. The Lord said, who gave a mouth to man, and who makes a person mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? So, the final question obviously demands a positive answer, but the clause is worded in such a way as to return to the theme, I am? Developing the same idea of God's control over life. Moses protests that he's not eloquent speaker, and the Lord replies, reminds him about himself. I will be your mouth, an assertion that repeats the verb he used 4 times in 3:12 and 14, and in the promises to Jacob and to Isaac. It is I. So now go, and I will be your mouth, and will teach you what you must say. This is where Moses should stop. Okay, Moses made his protest. God has clearly said, hey, you know, I got you. But this is also important, okay? We need to know that Moses later, as he leads the people, has been drawn to them in the role that he has. This was not something that, hey, he was power-hungry Egyptian, and now he has a chance to get in power over the Israelites. And I say that by being raised there and being in power potentially there. And to now suddenly have this, he doesn't want it. He's not looking for it. He's not looking for power. He's not looking to lord over them. He is trying to escape this. And I think that's important to look at. But Moses said, oh, my Lord, please send anyone else whom you wish to send. Like, can I get out of this? This is not Moses' resignation to doing God's will. It is his final attempt to avoid the call. It carries the force of asking God to send someone else. This is an example of an independent relative clause governed by a genitive, by the hand of whomever you will send. So, send by the hand, you will send. Let somebody else go. Then the Lord became angry with Moses and said, what about your brother Aaron the Levite? It's very interesting phrasing. Why is he calling him the Levite here? The term Levite may refer to a profession rather than ancestry here, because both Moses and Aaron were from the tribe of Levi, and there would be little pointing in noting the ancestry for Aaron. In thinking through the difficult problem of identifying of Levites, he cites McNeil as saying the Levite referred to one who had official training as a priest, were a member of the tribe of Judah, was a Levite in Judges. If it is a duty of priests to give Torah, to teach, then some training in the power of language would have been in order here. Okay, so there may be something else going on, not just saying, well, he's from this tribe, but some training in being able to give the Torah, which isn't there yet, but just in the training of whatever they were doing at that time. Okay. I know he can speak very well. Moreover, he is coming to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad of heart. We have the he's on his way, and later on we'll get the, hey, God tells Aaron to go meet his brother. But he's, from this point, already on the way, but we won't get the call to Aaron to go until later, which is like, why did we need that? So in chapter 4 here, there's some weird stuff that goes on that feels like there's an overlap here in a couple of things, or some misplacement of stuff. Don't let that throw you off. We are revealing what is needed at the time, and we'll get more info later. So you are to speak to him and put words in his mouth, and as for me, I will be your mouth, and with his mouth, and I will teach you both what you must do. He will speak for you to the people, and it will be as if he were your mouth, and as if you were his God. You will also take in your hand the staff with which you will do the sign. So, reminder, you got the staff. But there's this level at which Aaron is going to be the prophet of God, and Moses is going to be as if he is God, because he is going to speak the things that are going to be demanded for Pharaoh to comply with. Now, the interesting thing that happens as we, see any movies that have been rendered this, like, we almost always see Moses doing all of the talking instead of Aaron. We almost always see that. It's like, even if the text says that, I still think we should be thinking Aaron, as we go forward, is going to do the speaking, because that's the whole point of Aaron being there, Aaron being the spokesperson. So even if it's going to say, and Moses said, or Moses and Aaron said, that's like saying the prophet said and God said. Okay, we should still have an image in our mind that Aaron is going to do the talking for Moses all the way through, once he has arrived. So God says all these things. We don't have a Moses now says, sure, I'll go do it. We just have Moses goes back to his father-in-law Jethro and says to him, let me go so I may return to my relatives in Egypt and see if they are still alive. So this feels like Wait, what? Why is he not saying, hey, I've been called? Hey, I've got to go do this. So I think a little bit we have the play here of he's going to go ask to return. And he's going to go to Pharaoh and ask to leave. So there's a little bit of play there, I think, in the asking the father-in-law to leave, asking Pharaoh to leave. One is a follower of God and is, yes, you may leave, and the other is not. I think there's a little bit of that in here, which is kind of interesting. But he's asking to go and see if they're still alive. Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. The Lord said to Moses in Midian. So this is where, like, okay, so Jethro says go in peace, and then the Lord said to Moses in Midian, go back to Egypt, because all the men who were seeking your life are dead. So it feels like the burning bush thing is a separate thing entirely than this conversation here. And now it sounds like God shows up and says all the people seeking your life are dead. So now you can go back. But we just had the burning bush, which was another clear call to go. The text clearly stated that Pharaoh sought to kill Moses, so this seems to refer to Pharaoh's death shortly before Moses' return. Moses was 40 years in Midian. In the 18th dynasty, only Pharaoh Tutmosis III had a reign of the right length to fit the period of Moses' life. This would place Moses returning to Egypt in 1450 BC, in the beginning of the reign of Amenhotep II. Conservatives identify as the Pharaoh of Exodus. Ramses II, of course, had a very long reign, but if he were the one from whom Moses fled, then he could not be Pharaoh of the Exodus, but his son would be, and that puts the date of the Exodus at 1236, a date late for anyone. So, trying to date the Exodus by the pharaohs. The pharaohs' names are intentionally wiped out. They are intentionally wiped out. So we're not supposed to know who the pharaoh is intentionally. I don't have a problem with speculating and doing all these things. I just want to spend any great deal of time on it because they don't tell us, because his name is blotted out, which is also one of the things that Egypt does with certain people. They blot them out when a pharaoh comes along later and sees what they did and doesn't like what they did. They try to blot them out from history. So that's one of the things that happens. There is some interesting stuff out there of a prominent person that rises in power and then just suddenly disappears, that some think could have been Moses. But again, all speculation. Okay. So we have this, he goes to Jethro, he's going to go back. We have God showing up. The Pharaoh is dead. It is free for you to go now. So Moses took his wife, his sons, put them on a donkey, and headed back to the land with the staff in his hand. The Lord said to Moses, when you go back to Egypt, see that you do before Pharaoh all the wonders I have put under your control, but I will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. Okay, strengthen his heart. The text here expresses, I will make strong his will, or I will strengthen his resolve, recognizing the heart as the location of decision making. Well, okay, I think there's more going on here as well, because in the afterlife, what you have happen in Egyptian myth understanding is your heart is taken out and put on a scale, and it needs to weigh the same as a feather. It needs to be light to balance the scale, to see that you are truly worthy of your place in the afterlife. And if you have a heavy heart, a hard heart, it's going to weigh down the scale. So, in essence, what we have here is a level of God saying, I am going to make him detestable to his own gods in his afterlife. Like, that's what we have going on here on another level. Okay? We have God making him detestable to the afterlife that he is looking forward to. He's not going to get what he's looking for. You must say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord has said. Israel is my son, my firstborn. And I said to you, let my son go, that he may serve. But since you have refused to let him go, I will surely kill your firstborn. So here, way early, we get, this is what's going to happen. You're supposed to let my son go. You won't let my son go. I will kill your son. Well, we already have, before we get into that, it's just cruel to kill his son. We already have the execution of all of these babies 80 years ago. We already have the execution, and Pharaoh is the representative of the people. Pharaoh is a god to the people in their thinking. Pharaoh is a god, so he is the one executing this. So it is going to be also an assault on the gods of Egypt. To kill the son of Pharaoh is also an attack on the gods of Egypt, because he will become a god. Depending on how they see it all, if he already is or if he will become, regardless, there's that level of it. So that all seems straightforward. Now we have this weird encounter. Now on the way, at the place where they stopped for the night, the Lord met Moses and sought to kill him. Why do we have God showing up trying to kill him when Moses is going to do this? Well, okay. 24 to 26 records a rather strange story. God said that if Pharaoh would not comply, he would kill his son. But now God was ready to kill Moses, the representative of Israel, God's own son. Apparently, one would reconstruct that on the journey, Moses fell seriously ill, but his wife learned the cause of the illness, saved his life by circumcising his son and casting the foreskin at Moses' feet, indicating that it was symbolically Moses' foreskin. The point is that this son of Abraham had not complied with the sign of the Abrahamic covenant. No one, according to Exodus 12 to 51, would take part in the Passover Exodus who had not complied. How could the one who was going to lead God's people not comply? The bold anthropomorphism and the location at the border invite comparison with Genesis 32, the angel wrestling with Jacob. In both cases, there is a brush with death that could not be forgotten. Okay, here's also another issue. If Moses' father-in-law Jethro is and knows God, does he not know the covenant of circumcision? But he is not the child of Abraham, or, you know, I should say of Isaac and Jacob. So maybe they're not practicing circumcision. So maybe he doesn't fully do it. But Zipporah, who is the daughter of a priest of Midian, knows how to perform the ceremony properly. So she does indeed do this. So we don't know. Was there some argument? Was there some debate in the household, in the family? Should they do this? Should they not do it? It's a weird thing stuck in the middle of the story here. They stopped for the night, and the Lord sought to kill Moses. I want to go look a minute at the word for the Lord there. Exodus 4. And what verse are we? 24. I want to see how generic the term is, or if it's specific. The Lord, Yahweh. Okay, so it definitely is that. It definitely is Yahweh. Okay, Yod He Vav He. That's what I just wanted to see. If it was that, or if it was like Adonai, or if it was Elohim. Because if it was an Elohim, which I've heard people say, an Elohim, a different one, not God himself, could have been involved. So I wanted to look that up. So it clearly is. It is the Lord met Moses and sought to kill him. He just got him to go on this journey. Why is he seeking to kill him? Maybe there's something more that the text leaves out here of, and you need to make sure that your kids are whatever. Like, there could be a piece that we're just missing here, and the story just left it out. I think that's probably what's happening here, that Moses doesn't do what he's supposed to with the circumcision of his sons. Certainly didn't do it on the 8th day, as later will be the case. But God meets him on the way, showing in some level that the leader of the people is not above the obedience to what God's commands are. The leader of the people is not able to say, it doesn't apply to me. So he's got to do this. His wife does it because he is apparently sick and in no condition to be able to do it. And so cutting off the foreskin of her son and touching Moses' feet. Now, let's see what the footnote says here, because feet could be a metaphor for not actually meaning his feet. His feet, the reference to Moses, has been specified in the translation, and she fell at his feet, and then the blood of the circumcision of my son stood. But it is clear that she caused the foreskin to touch Moses' feet as if Bum, 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 if the one were substituted for the other. Feet and thigh are metaphors for genitals. So perhaps she took the foreskin of her son and touched it where Moses' foreskin is or is missing. There's that definite possibility there too, because feet here could be a metaphor. If it is feet, however, and there is blood, the blood of the circumcision, he now would have purified feet to be able to bring the presence of God as he goes. I know this is weird, this is strange. I'm just trying to see what's in the text and how to understand it. Onesimus, welcome in. There was a few ways to look at it. I see it as foreshadowing of the Passover, where the blood of the circumcision in this case serves as a mean of protection of divine judgment, just as the Passover is a foreshadow of the divine judgment through the blood of Jesus. In fact, when you draw out Passover ritual and the door, it makes a cross. Oh, yes. Onesimus, thanks for that. That's a good thought there. And we've got ads rolling in here, everybody. We'll go take a look at the fish. So jumping back in, we have this interlude that's like he goes back to Jethro. He's now going to go on his way. His wife is coming with him, and we have God going to come and take Moses out. And like I said, there's levels here which I am convinced we're missing something in the culture beyond what we already know and understand, or there's something else in the text that's just supposed to be understood that we don't culturally, and that's why this seems so weird to us. But regardless, we have it. It's resolved. His wife does it. And now we're going to move on. So the Lord said to Aaron, go to the wilderness and meet Moses. So we already said, or God already said, Aaron is on his way. So what this really does look like I said, is it looks like there's some overlap of two stories here at the same time. And that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, like a false thing. It just is like, I'm going back and forth. And we do this normally in chapters. Like I give you a chapter of what's happening with the hobbits, and then I give you a chapter of what's happening with the elves, and I give you a chapter of what's happening with the humans, and I separate those chapters. Here, they're not doing it. They're just back and forth between the two pieces of the story. So we had Aaron's on his way. Now we have, hey, Aaron, go to Moses. Like, wouldn't this precede that? It doesn't matter. This is how it's being revealed, the order of which the author is sharing it. So he went and met him at the mountain of God and greeted him with a kiss. So, never read, watched Lord of the Rings. That's okay. You still can understand what I'm talking about there. So, we have in some ways that the mountain of God is a 3-day journey from Egypt into the desert. And we also have it is a place on the backside of the mountain where Moses takes the sheep. So, the thought being that it has potential to be between Midian and Egypt. So it does not mean that now we're in a different direction. It could just mean that Moses went back to Midian, brought the sheep back, got his wife, and now is traveling, and he stays at the mountain of God. Could be the place where he stays overnight, where circumcision actually happens here, which is a sign of the covenant, and Aaron shows up there. So it could be they're both going, and coming, and I don't know where the Mount Sinai is. I do not know where it is. And there's plenty of people that speculate, but frankly, finding it won't prove anything, in my opinion. Okay, so go to the wilderness to meet Moses. They meet there, and they greet him with a kiss. Interesting thing, greeting with a kiss. This is how Jesus is greeted on the mountain as well later to be betrayed. So it's just like, is there something deeper here in the greeting him with a kiss? Because I don't know, but that's what we have. So Moses told Aaron all the words of the Lord, sent him, and all the signs he had commanded. Then Moses and Aaron went and brought together all the Israelite elders. So they leave the mountain. They go to bring all the elders together. Where's his wife and kids? They leave the story here. His wife and kids have left the story. Just pointing that out. He takes his wife and his kids. The occasion happens with the circumcision happening in wherever they stay for the night. And now his wife and kids are going to leave the story. Watch for if and where they show up again. Okay, so they're with the elders. Aaron speaks all the words. See, here it says Aaron spoke. Not Moses. Aaron spoke all the words. Why does Aaron speak? Because that's his whole role. And why did Moses tell Aaron all the things? So that Aaron would know what to speak. All the words the Lord had spoken to Moses and did the signs in the sight of the other people. So this also says Aaron is doing the signs. Aaron is dropping the staff. Aaron is putting his hand in and out. Okay, and the people believed. So the people believe. The people believe. So Aaron spoke all the words of the Lord. Okay, so we were there. They believe. That was like, what? I thought this would be harder. The way Moses led it up was going to be harder. The Israelites then had seen all the affliction. They bowed down close to the ground. Okay, when they heard that the Lord had attended to Israel and heard the affliction. So here we have all the people in the sight of all the people, and they believed. It only said the elders were called together, but then it says when Aaron spoke. So they must have gone from all the elders to all the people. All the people believe. They all believe that God has heard their cry. They are all drawing close to the ground. They are bowing down. They are worshiping God. They are rendering themselves to him. And it's like, wow, this is great. This is what the people should do. It's all wonderful. Isn't that great? So there we have it. That's the end of it. So it sounds like everything